100 countries, all 50 states, almost 8,000 New Yorkers who are impatient by nature. And we're awaiting Mayor Rudy Giuliani to get the cannon fired to begin the 30th New York City Marathon. He promised it would be loud. And it is. And now, crystal clear pictures, some of the most powerful images in sport.
Getting this thing underway, but you have to find a way to be patient somehow.
And that's the great thing about having the championship now. If you take 5 minutes to cross the finish line, you know what your individual are happy to see the gun go off and get it started. Some years when the weather's beautiful and you're down there with people from every country in the world just about.
The Feely uniform, number 20 out in front, turned around as he realized there was a bit of a gap even in the first mile. The rest of the lead group kind of slowed down a bit, and now all of the athletes who are going to run the whole way, there are 4 rabbits we'll touch on later, have all congealed up. Let me touch on the wind. It has now shifted from the starting line just less than a mile away. It is now a quartering wind coming at them over their left shoulder, but in front of them. So it is tough. We'll have to see when we get to the streets of Brooklyn exactly what the wind is like. You know, I look at this start, Al, and I'm reminded in 1970 that the budget to run this race for Fred Lebow and everybody was $1,000. And the prizes they gave out were bowling trophies and baseball trophies. The only thing I can think that has grown as fast is Microsoft.
Well, the amazing thing now is if somebody asks you to stop by the office and pick up the winner's medals, bring them over to the finish line, they would weigh 2.5 tons.
Staten Island is their past. Brooklyn is their present. Queens, Manhattan, they are at the Brooklyn Academy of Music.
And they're just passing that 8-mile mark. One of the other things that's important to the lead runners is the water stops. They just passed their second water stop, and in a race this fast, these elite runners are not only worried about getting water, but they're worried about getting their specific water bottle. And the Road Runners Club has just gone to tremendous lengths to make sure that the table is set up exactly right. Their table is actually before the table for the normal runners that's piled with Dixie cups, because these runners mix their own preparation that it may have taken them years to figure out exactly what they want in that preparation. And fortunately, they've been able to all get their drinks like they wanted to.
Larry Rawson, what's been cooking?
Well, a member of the 1912 Olympic team said once, if you're going to win a battle, you have to do one thing.
Larry, did you interview him?
Pardon me?
Did you interview that guy?
Which guy?
The one in the 1912 Olympics?
I don't think so. He said you have to make the mind run the body. Never let the body tell the mind what to do. The man who said it, General George S. Patton, an Olympian no less. 2 people following off where the mind is unfortunately not winning out right now. Zebediah Bio, one of the co-favorites up there, and none other than Cosmas Deddy, who is struggling to hold on to this lead pack. And as you've been saying, they've been holding on for about a 4:54 mile pace as we pass Bishop Lachlan, and they play Rocky for one of their 300 times out here. Silva acting as policeman. Tiamba from Colombia now, and Dr. Shvetsov, no less, and Stefko doing an excellent job. The lead pack right now, I'm down to about 17 athletes as we are approaching the 10-mile mark. And the wind, guys, I wish I could give you better news, but it has all along 4th Avenue been slightly in their face. Not at 18 miles an hour, but definitely a measurable wind. They're shrouded right now as we come up Lafayette Street by the buildings, the wind not quite as bad. So we'll see what happens, but obviously the drama and the pace and things still to unfold as we get up, I think, to 1st Avenue, things might break a bit.
The lead pack was 25. Now it's 17. It's a march to make it 1 in the New York City Marathon. Back in a moment. As tall in the sport of marathon running have been the Kenyans. Midway point, the Pulaski Bridge, as the runners move from Brooklyn to Queens. John Kagwe takes a brief lead. Of the 50 fastest times recorded this year, 25 are by Kenyans. He's among them. The word to describe it other than it was a tester by the guy going for the three-peat, John Kagwe, moments ago. Marty, what would you say?
Well, I think he felt good for an instance, but one strategy is to take a shot and go up off the front, open up a 10-yard gap, and come back. Do that 2 or 3 times to the rest of the crowd start to think, well, he's just going up, he'll be back. And then one time you go around a corner, you put on that spurt, and you keep it going for 200 yards, and you never come back. So it's sort of a fake. It's like in football, running one pattern to set a guy up for the pattern you ultimately want to run when it's really important.
We should explain the move that we're talking about is coming up in a moment. It was Kagwe going out for about, I don't know, 10 yards, 15 feet, and just checking to see if anybody would go with him, and nobody did. And meanwhile, Herman Silva still part of this lead group. And he thought that halfway would be about what he would run today, and he is past the halfway mark now and heading towards Manhattan. And you can't tell me that a guy who's won this race twice is going to suddenly bail out on First Avenue. I just can't believe it.
Well, you've got a point. There's Silva, number 20, right there. Looks pretty good. Still, as Larry pointed out, kind of being a windshield for Chebet, who also runs for the same shoe company. So, on one hand, you got a point, Al, but I do think he'll stay in there as long as he can. You know, if you drop out on First Avenue, you're closer to the hotels.
Well, you can see they're all unified in sneaker type and jersey color. That is Joseph Chebet wearing number 2, his finish last year.
Interestingly, he did not get any water. At least I didn't see him get any. Now, Herman and the other guys who are pace setters, they're grabbing the water that the regular runners will get in cups. The elite runners actually have a table before that where they've got their bottles. And here's where this teammate stuff gets a little touchy with me. He missed his water stop. That's his own fault. And one of his teammates gave him some water.
The other member of this team is number 15, Philip Torres. And here's what happened. Herman Silva playing the role of waiter.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this. Now, Torres is a winner of the San Diego Marathon, and he is a legitimate guy who could win this race. So the feeling among most runners is if you get water from an equal, another guy or another woman who has a chance to race, no harm done. But for someone who is not a contender to hand you water is a little different.
Bunch together, and the resumes were amazing. 3 former New York City Marathon champions, including Herman Silva off of foot surgery. And so in mile 19, he pulled himself out of the race. He did his job for some of his teammates, and now they move to mile 20. Now, don't forget about number 17 in this mix, Domingos Castro, a respected name in this sport. Now, there's something cooking now under the gorgeous canopy of autumn colors in Central Park, in the northern reaches of the park. It feels like this is the time now. The big push and a major move by 3 men. Number 17 is Domingos Castro. Number 2 is Joseph Chebet, who's finished 2nd here twice in a row. And number 1 is the 2-time champion, John Kagwe. They have pulled away from Giacomo Leone, Simon Biwat, and El Muaziz. Larry Rawson is there.
Right, Al, all this happened as it did last year coming into Central Park. First it was El Muaziz just before they turned in. Could not hold the pace. Had an anguished look on his face and started to fade. And then also Simon Biwat fell off the pace. Elijah Lagat did. The 1996 champion did. And someone who I think is struggling a little bit out here to hold the pace is Kagwe. Chebet looks totally comfortable. His face is always expressionless, and he is just marking his time. He's up against a guy who has good 10,000 meter speed. I'm referring to Castro. And the race looks like, to me, it may come down to those two, as very subtly, Kagwe is struggling right now.
Well, as he has done many times in the past on European tracks, Castro takes the race and just opens it up. He knows he doesn't have a great finishing kicks. He tries to break people early. He may be breaking John Kagwe. Surprisingly, he did drop El Muaziz, the London Marathon champ, off the pace. But Joseph Chebet seems to look very comfortable and is just running in his slipstream right now.
Chebet with that awkward lean to his stride. It is a strange-looking gait, Marty, for a marathoner who has been so successful.
Well, a lot of the great runners do lean forward slightly from the waist. It's not something that you can force yourself to do, but if you're just built that way, you're pretty comfortable.
And now suddenly it's 15 feet, 20 feet, 25 feet, as Kagwe is being left behind, and it's very difficult to envision someone recapturing that distance in the hills of Central Park.
Certainly looks to be struggling, but that may be deceiving. That's sort of his style. As a much younger runner, he ran a 3:38, 1,500 meters. That's a 3:55 mile. He's trying to relax now, trying to recover. He dropped his arms. He knows it's going to be a last-second kick, and he wants to have it.
Larry Rawson?
Al, the year that Castro ran his best 1,500 meters was 1997. Also the year of his best marathon in London at 2:07 plus. So I think the person that has to worry most is Chebet. He is known as a guy who makes a major move and tries to hold it. And so I wouldn't expect him to wait till the final bell. He did tell me, though, that his speed and his interval training was far better than when he won the Boston Marathon this year. He was doing repeat 800-meter runs, 10 of them with only a minute break, and running 10 seconds faster for each one of them than he had done prior to Boston. So, you know, whether it's false hope or a confident belief that he can outkick anybody, Chebet is in marvelous shape here for a move to the finish line still, and he looks great out here. Castro's face hasn't changed at all, nor has his arm action, but in theory, he's got more speed than Chebet, who's got to get away, in my opinion.
It's a good point by Larry. We mentioned that Chebet has run 6 marathons, won 3 of them, but on the negative side, he's also been second 2 times, and that points out as what happened here last year. He was caught at the end by John Kagwe. He is susceptible to someone who can really get up on their toes and sprint in the last 200 or 300 yards. So as Larry said, this is a smart move for Chebet to make the first really hard. Not that they haven't been running hard the last mile, but now they're really all out for the finish line.
Oh, and he's going for the crusher. He's trying to leave Castro behind on that steep incline in Central Park. And I guess, Larry, Kagwe is, what, about 10 seconds back?
Well, as we look back on the curve, we'll see if Kagwe is a non-factor. They've got more than a mile to run.
We're projecting a finish somewhere in the 2:09 area, so you can do the subtraction yourself. But it looks like Joseph Chebet of Kenya, 29 years of age, has made his play, his move. He came in with the mission of not finishing runner-up. I mean, any athlete will tell you, one of the worst things that you can do is finish second by just a little bit. And then you think about, oh, I could have done just a little bit more, just a little bit, and I would have won. So what Chebet had to do today was to stay with the front and give himself a chance to win, and that's exactly what he's done to this point. Larry Rawson, can you see Kagwe? How close is he to this?
It's hard to see, Al, right now because the road does nothing in Central Park at this point but make S-shaped curves. And he's back, and I can't see third place. No, I'm wrong. It's Giacomo Leone, now Kagwe, approximately 150 meters behind still. Castro struggling, pumping his arms like he has not done before. You know, one thing about that Chebet does is after a major race, he usually takes a month or 2 off, doesn't really run, then starts running twice a week at his farm, and then comes back to camp. And he was stung with his losses to Kagwe, lacking raw speed, and he decided to work on that more and came back to camp in early July and just dedicated himself, didn't leave, didn't go home, and focused on very hard training sessions over approximately the last 4 months. And he said, I came here a month sooner than I did when I took second in New York, and I've worked hard on my speed, and I hope it pays off. And as you can see, it looks like it might.
Yeah, there's number 1, and there's number 2.
The lead right now, Al, continues to increase very slowly. He's probably got 35 or so, maybe 40 meters now on Castro. Castro has about 75, maybe 85 meters on the other athletes back there, including Kagwe.
All right, Larry, the last mile was 4:42. Chebet is putting the pedal to the metal. And somewhere back in the hills of Kenya when he trained at 10,000 feet, who knows what day, who knows what climate was, he put some little extra jug of juice into his body that would allow him in the 25th mile to push on these last few hills, which are killers in Central Park. about 4.5 minutes to the finish. Nothing's changed in the women's race. It's still all Adriana Fernandez. She's got a huge lead, over 2 minutes. Now out of Central Park, coming towards Central Park South near the Plaza Hotel. He'll make a right-hand turn onto Central Park South.
And this has to be a long, lonely stretch. It's flat and it's long, and you focus on Columbus Circle. And as Larry mentioned in the park, it's easy to get ahead and get lost around the turns. But now Castro's going to get one last look and know exactly how far behind he is. Because once Chebet makes that turn into the park, it's going to be all over. Once he's made the turn in the park, he has less than 400 meters to the finish, and this would just be too much to try and make up in that amount of time.
You have, in terms of prestige, Boston. The Boston Marathon for its long history, and then you have New York for all its difficulty. Imagine in this sport to win both in the same year, and that's exactly what Joseph Chebet can do. Castro, if you look back there, looks as though from somewhere deep down is pulling out one last final try, and he is making up ground on Joseph Chebet.
He is the Olympic track runner. Remember, he spent most of his life on flat tracks where you have to kick at the end of the race. He knows this is his last chance. He's using the flat to try and catch Chebet.
Last year, the difference between first and second was only 3 seconds, and the 90s has been marked with more close finishes than at any other time in New York City Marathon history. Silva won by 2 seconds in 94, a 3-second difference in 98, 4 in 82, 5 in 1995. Chebet looking a little slower to me, Marty.
His rhythm has definitely changed, and Castro is just probably hoping that this long stretch would go on and on until he can catch Chebet. They have one more hill when they are in Central Park. As they go to the finish line, the last 250 yards is slightly uphill. This race is not over.
All right, now the right-hand turn past the big statue of Columbus and Columbus Circle, and then, as Marty said, that one last deadly hill. Marty, Larry?
You know, one thing out here, the gap was 6 seconds. The gap is now 4.5, and we have 1/4 mile, the equivalent of a high school lap around the track to go. Go to your local high school. That's the distance left in this race.
Just from the looks of things, it looks like Castro is going to run out of room.
I don't think we have seen Chebet look back at all. He's just running as hard as he can, and that is going to be a benefit to Castro to try and sneak up. In many races, the crowd will warn you with their noise, but there's too much noise. It's constant. You won't know if somebody's coming up on you.
Go with them, go with them.
But Castro's legs must be screaming. We're past the record time in the marathon. It was 2:08:01, so the record of 1989 lives for another year.
Trying to go to the other side of the road, so if by chance he can pull even, he can sneak by. He doesn't want Chebet to see him.
4 seconds, and it looks like it may even be less now as we come to the finish line of the 30th New York City Marathon. Joseph Chebet, desperate as he nears the finish line, and the huge noise adjacent to Tavern on the Green.
From Kenya as he makes his way into the finish line.
Suddenly Castro's out of the picture. The final steps, completing an amazing year, and certainly the greatest victory in the career of Joseph Chebet, the 1999 New York City Marathon winner. But what a gallant charge in the final mile by Domingos Castro. Well, this time Joseph Chebet got it right. After 2 straight years of finishing second, he takes first. And there you see the third-place finisher and the one-time champion Giacomo Leone. Taking third was number 42, Shem Kororia, also of Kenya. So Kenya 1 and 3, Portugal 2. Marathons a year. That's it. That's his job. And in 1999, he's taken them both. In Boston and today in New York. Not since Bill Rogers did it twice in 1978 and 79 has anyone swept the big two. Now we wonder whether Adriana Fernandez